Hello, 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 and welcome to our weekly Wednesday webinar. I'm so happy to have everybody with us today. Of course, I always love the third week of the month because one of our favorite members of our coaching and training team is here with us today. I'm going to introduce him in just a second, but first of all, let's do a little housekeeping if we can. Remember, we do have the chat open, and so if you want to speak to everybody in the chat or let us see it, make sure you click everyone, not just host and participants. We want to make sure that we see all of your wonderful chats. Also, as we do the chats, usually as I get going, and certainly as Jeff gets going, it's hard for us to read the chat. So we have our amazing Director of Operations back with us this week, Robin Keeley. Say hello, Robin.
Hey, everyone.
There's Robin. Yay. So she's going to be keeping an eye on the chat. And then if there's something that's like really important, she just needs to jump on in and share with us. She is going to go ahead and do that. That sounds great. Hey, you know what? We've had a bunch of new people join our group recently. We're so excited. We have like 300 new people this week. So excited. So there may be a few of you who don't know who I am. I'm just going to share a little bit about me, if that's okay. So my name is Cole Finley, and I am the principal owner and founder of Finley RE Coaching and Consulting, as well as a business performance and transformational coach and trainer. So I've been a realtor since 2009. I've been managing real estate companies and coaching real estate agents since 2012. Oh my gosh. I'm an instructional designer with over 25 years as a course creator, trainer, and coach. And I'm the chief architect of our 12 Weeks to Breakthrough coaching and training program. All right, so let's get into our special guest speaker. I got to tell you, love me some Jeff Quincy. Let me tell you a little bit about him. He is a mortgage loan officer with Fairway Independent Mortgage. And like I said, he's one of our amazing people on our coaching and training team. So Jeff has built a successful mortgage business over the last 19 years by taking an educative approach with his clients and referral partners. His entire mission is to show clients how they can create generational wealth through real estate and their prospective financing options. And although this approach takes more time in educating and explaining options, it has proven to create lifelong clients and establishes him as a mortgage professional and not just an order taker. I got to tell you, you guys are always in for a treat when Jeff is here. Jeff, come on in and say hi to everybody.
How are we doing today, everyone? Thank you, Cole.
You are so welcome.
The introduction. Love being here third Wednesday every month and being able to kind of pour into your tribe.
I love it. You know, this was interesting because you and I were talking about, you know, what we wanted to talk about with everybody, because you guys may not know, but every week we really take a look at what is hot and what is happening with you guys in the market, in your businesses right now. And Jeff started sharing with me things that are going on with him and with his agents. So, and we kind of discovered that maybe we're shifting back a little bit so that we got some things going on. So Jeff, you're going to talk to us all about that today, I believe.
Yes.
And I tell you what, if you're cool with it, I'm just going to step out. I'm going to let you take it. And guys, enjoy it. Make sure you take lots of notes. Jeff is always awesome to take notes on. All right, I'll be back in a while.
All right, thanks everybody. So hopefully you guys can see my screen, got a little PowerPoint here. If you were on last month's webinar, we went over a lot of data as we were planning for 2023. So if you're on that one, there's gonna be a little bit of recap, if you will. I'm going to go through the data a lot quicker. If you weren't on that one, I highly suggest, and Robin and Cole can get you maybe that link. They share these videos a couple of days after we finish on YouTube. Highly recommend going back to last month's video where I dig into the numbers a little bit deeper, but we're going to kind of regurgitate some of that data. Obviously, we have another month worth of data to look at. And the reason for that is because today we're talking about a shifting market, right? We went a little 2+ years of COVID with really low interest rates that we've never seen before. It was completely a seller's market. Why? Because those lower interest rates increased demand, right? We came out of that as rates went up at the beginning of 2022 and very quickly moved into a buyer's market where all of a sudden buyers are dictating the terms of the contract in most geographical areas. And one disclaimer I should always give when we do these is I'm based here in the Phoenix market. A lot of my data is based on that. We do have some nationwide data to look at as well. So never want to paint with a broad stroke, right? Some of the things I say today may be specific to Phoenix, may not necessarily be what's happening in your market. However, it seems like Phoenix is always a leading market for what we can expect to see nationwide as the year progresses. So we've seen that shift into buyers really being able to dictate the terms of what they need in order to get under contract on a house. And I think you're going to see some data today, and definitely what I'm hearing, I'm just a small fish in a big sea here in Phoenix, but what I'm seeing is increased activity. And I think the data is going to point towards sometime in the near future, probably May timeframe, that we're going to slide back into a balanced market. So what I want to start with today is a quote: "Change is the only constant in life." Okay. Never more true than in our two industries of lending and real estate. Things are always changing. And just when we think we have the market figured out, it all changes again. So a lot of what we talk about today, we can always go back to past videos because we'll be in a balanced market more than likely for a few months. And there's a good chance with some things you'll see on my presentation here today that we'll quickly slide in some markets right back into a seller's market towards the end of 2023. Of course, that's just a prediction there. So I had a mentor of mine years ago when I first got in the mortgage business talk about change and said, you just as well embrace it. And I jokingly said, I am embracing it. I hate it. I'm embracing the hate. I'm embracing the suck. And they said, well, that's a choice, right? You can shift out of that and just embrace the change and then prepare yourself so that it doesn't suck moving forward. So wanted to start with that. As you know, if you've listened to me before, I always like to kind of set the foundation of the course. And I thought that was a good quote. Obviously, if you've been practicing real estate for a while, this slide is a lot of stuff that you already know, we already know in the business, but maybe you're new. So I just kind of wanted to break down some general characteristics real quick on a seller's market, buyer's market, and of course, a balanced market. So seller's market, what we saw when COVID hit, right? Really low inventory. And we can argue that inventory is actually still low. I have a couple slides on that today. But demand went through the roof. What does 2.75% 30-year fixed rates do? Gets everybody and their dog wanting to buy a house, right? Demand went up. Typically low interest rates in that type of a market. Some benefits and drawbacks are the buyer gets some lower payments, but they're dealing with higher competition. They have less negotiating power. You'll see prices go up. You guys probably saw this in your market, right? We were being asked to waive appraisals, in some cases inspections, which was something that, that just made me very nervous for buyers. Hopefully as an agent, you still recommended an inspection to protect you and that client. We were writing multiple offers, right? Running around. I had some clients that wrote on 20 or 30 houses before they got an offer accepted because of that competition and their limited purchasing power. So that happened from early 2020 as COVID came in, and that market kind of shifted in early 2022 as rates started increasing in January, and we really saw that shift happen around March. And we shifted into a buyer's market, right? Typically higher inventory. I say high inventory, like in Phoenix here, we're higher, but we're still not at the customary 6 months of inventory. Usually mean demand goes down, right? Rates go up, most buyers pull back. So demand went down at the beginning of last year when that happened because of higher interest rates. Benefits and drawbacks there were the buyers who were in a position to still buy had little to no competition. They got to start putting their demands in and what it would take to take that house off the market, which meant a lot of benefits to them, right? More negotiating power, start seeing seller concessions. Start seeing 2-1 buy downs. I actually predicted end of March, 2-1 buy downs wasn't something that I had sold in 15 years because it really takes the perfect market. And I could see that we were moving into that as rates were increasing. So late March, early April, I mentioned the 2-1 buy downs, that it would be around July timeframe. And I'm going to talk about that here later on in this presentation. But the drawback of all this, right? No competition. I'm getting these concessions where buyers now had to get comfortable with excessively higher payments, right? So that started early last year. We're currently still in that. However, we're starting to see that shift to a balanced market. Average inventory numbers, maybe inventory's creeping up a little bit. Houses are sitting longer. Our demand is average. We had, like I mentioned, some buyers pull back because of interest rates. People that are moving are doing it out of necessity, right? Rent increases are forcing them to say, hey, maybe buying is a better option now. Rates play less of a factor in a balanced market. You either qualify or you don't. And your moving decisions are usually now normal, not based on what interest rates are doing, right? At 2.75, everybody wants to buy. So benefits, you got some fair competition, right? There's definitely going to be competition, but you got fair rates and payments that we've been used to. Concessions, maybe, depends on your market, depends on the situation of the house that's being sold. Maybe it needs some updating to get that property moved. So that might give you some negotiating power, and the negotiations are going to vary as well from one property to the next, depending on the demand of that house. So I put kind of a joke in here in red, right? Coming to a market near you soon, more than likely May of 2023 in some of the larger, more competitive markets. And I have some data to back that up. If you've ever listened to me talk today, I'm going to be giving some data both from Dave Stevens and Barry Habib with MBS Highway. So guys, I'm not the expert. I always like to mention that, right? I just get really ingrained in training for my job and my industry. And I'm always educating myself because that's the best way for me to support my agents as well as my clients. So a lot of the data that we're going over today is from those two gentlemen and a little bit of my personal opinion and insight. So what drives
Jeff,
our markets? Yeah, go ahead.
Jeff, will you share your slides today? Can we get that out to everybody after this today?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep, we'll share it. So if we're talking about market shifts, we first need to understand the market drivers, right? And I put up supply and demand, supply or inventory in the housing market, interest rates, inflation, and home prices. However, if you've ever taken an Econ 101 class in college, you will know that what drives any market, any product, is supply and demand. It's that simple, right? So we're going to talk about interest rates, inflation, and home prices today. However, we need to first understand that inflation simply drives interest rates, right? Impacts interest rates. Interest rates, in turn, impact demand. Talked about that already just a couple minutes ago. Interest rates go up, demand drops. Interest rates go down, demand goes up. So that's an indirect relationship with demand. Home prices has an impact on supply and demand as a whole. Doesn't have an impact on it, it is impacted by it. So if we're really talking about what drives the market, we want to really bring this down to a granular level when we're talking with clients. We really are talking about supply and demand. Now, when we do that, we have to have the knowledge and the information and data to go with interest rates, inflation, and home prices, right? We got to be able to give them that background. But the true market driver is simple supply and demand. You're going to see here in a couple slides, I shared this last month, what we have here in Phoenix, what's provided to us by one of our title companies that shows you what's going on. And you're going to see, if you remember any of the numbers I shared last month, where Phoenix is going and what leads to some of this. I shared this slide last month as well, talking about inventory, right? You can Google $5 million inventory. I don't even think you have to put real estate in there and you will get 100 results. These were just some of the headlines I found last month. We're 5 million homes short. Now, that's not just homes, it's apartment buildings, places, dwellings for people to live in, right? 5 million short. We're not catching up anytime soon, right? I mean, best case scenario, some experts say we're minimum 10 years out from catching up on that. So from an inventory standpoint, when you look at your region, your area, you might see that inventory's gone up 4 or 5 times. But does that mean that that's the healthy inventory your market needs for balanced? So we're going to talk, there's some fine lines there that we're going to talk about. In order to understand inventory and how the market is impacted by it, we got to talk about housing formation. This came from Barry Habib, MBS Highway. And we talked about this last month. If you want the real in-depth, go back and look at the webinar from last month, from December. But you're going to see here, blue line is household formations. Now, what are household formations? Let's define that. This is your child who's living with you decides to move out and they need their own dwelling. They might be buying a house. They might be renting an apartment. They now have created the need for one more housing unit. So you can see household formations are at an all-time high. Our orange bar here is your completions, new homes. And as I said last month, Jeff, why don't you include resale homes? Well, a very good reason for that. If I own a house and I sell it and I'm going to buy another one, I didn't increase any inventory, right? That same amount of available housing units remained the same. So that's why they compare this with housing completions, new builds. That's where the 5 million we're short needs to come from. So you can see year over year for the last 5 years, we are building less than what we require from a demand standpoint, right? That number is going to continue as the millennials want to get out on their own. So that's the short version. Also existing home inventory, again, from Barry. You can see the lowest inventory we've had since 2007, right? We're not going to talk about this today. It's not the purpose of today's meeting, but 2007, what happened right behind that? 08, 09, 2010, the housing and financial crash, right? We had the largest inventory ever. And now with all these household formations and the combination of inventory being very low, we have a supply issue. Right now, high interest rates has helped bring demand down and help even that out a little bit. However, you're going to see that that's going to continue. Look at Phoenix. This on the right-hand side, this is the graphic I just showed last month, 18,000 homes. This is Magnus Title here in Phoenix, provides this to me every month. 18,000 listings. We're down to 15,000. Now, there's a little bit of explanation for that, right? A lot of listings have expirations of December 31st, so that plays a factor. A lot of people want to take their houses off the market during the holidays, rightfully so. And generally traffic decreases anyways around the holidays from Thanksgiving until after New Year's. However, while I have this slide up, I just want to point out one thing. So Fairway Independent Mortgage, nationwide company, I'm going to toot my horn just for a second here. We have a little over 3,000 loan officers across the country. 2022, I landed at 263 out of over 3,000, right? Pretty proud of myself. The December numbers just got emailed out last night, and my volume was number 43 in the company out of the same 3,200 loan officers.
Woohoo!
Right?
Applause, 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 applause.
Now, as I always say to my clients, when I bring up important facts like that, I'm not saying it to brag, saying it to simply impart on you a very important thing there. I've had colleagues year over year say this, holidays suck from Thanksgiving. I've used that word a lot today. I need to get that out of my vocabulary. From Thanksgiving till New Year's, I don't get any business. I should just go on vacation for 2 months. And I've always said, well, you're getting exactly what you're putting out into the universe, right? Been doing this for 20 years. December has always been either the best or second best month of every year that I've been in business. Why? Because I let everybody know I'm working. Thanksgiving is a one-day holiday. Christmas is a one-day holiday. New Year's is a one-day holiday. Don't turn it into a week-long holiday or a month-long. Now, that's, as business owners, that's our choice. I'm not frowning upon people who take the month of December off, but don't say that you need the business in December and at the same time say, but my December is going to be horrible, because it always is. You're getting out what you put. You're getting back what you put out into the universe, right? That's just my belief. And that number from 2022, as much as I've always verbally said that to my colleagues, just proved that, moved up 220 spots on our list just in that 1 month. So here it is, numbers out saying, hey, things are down. yet we put up one of our best months of the year. So take that, right? Cole does a great job with her coaching program. You guys know that I'm a big proponent of coaching, and it just goes to show how powerful your mindset is. So as we're just kind of ramping up into 2023, it's hard to believe January is already over. Pay attention to that. What are you putting out there? What do you want for results? And are your actions and your words matching that? So a little side note there. So we get on the side of the equation of demand, right? This literally just got sent to me this morning. It even says release date January 18th this morning. So I quick slid this in. Mortgage Bankers Association, MBA, just announced mortgage applications on the rise, up 25%, highest level since September. Okay, if the market is driven by supply and demand is on the rise, this is a nationwide stat. This isn't a Jeff Quincy or a Fairway thing. If demand's on the rise and inventory still at a low, right? We just showed you Phoenix inventory is at 15,000. That number during COVID was 5. So we've 5,000. We've 3x'd our inventory. That sounds great. We have options. The problem is where the inventory needs to be in Phoenix for a balanced market is probably closer to 25, 30,000 homes. We're well under that. So we still have a supply issue, and all of a sudden demand's up. Why is demand up? Because rates have improved, right? Over the last 30, 45 days, we've seen anywhere, depending on program, depending on credit, we've seen anywhere from 0.5% to a 1% improvement in interest rates. What does that do? Get people off the fence, okay? And these are talking points as we're going through this that is designed to help you have a conversation with your client, because you may not be working with a lender like me. I talk about real estate in my lending conversation, right? I was in the office till 8 o'clock last night with 3 different client appointments where I was talking about the real estate market and helping them make a lending decision, right? I'm not a licensed real estate agent, but I know how to tiptoe that line and give them that knowledge, which allows them to trust me that I am an expert in the industry. I don't say I'm an expert, I let them determine that, right? And that comes from me portraying the knowledge in a way that allows them to make an informed decision on the biggest purchase of their life. So we got demand up. So now let's go into, and this is these next 4 or 5 slides we went through last month. I'm going to go through them real fast. Some of this, if you didn't hear last month's presentation, may go over your head very quickly. Go back to that one. I take a lot of time on this. Historically, 35 years, this is from Barry, MBS Highway. The spread between the 10-year treasury and a 30-year mortgage rate has been 2%. When you see the 200 BP there, 200 bips, that's percentage is 2%. All of a sudden, there has been a climb to 3% difference. And this is a little bit outdated. Barry actually did this back in November, where mortgage rates at the time were hovering right around 7, and the 10-year treasury is at 4. Right now, 10-year treasury this morning was just under 3.5%. That means rates should be at 5.5%. Average rates are in the low 6s to mid 6s, still running about 2.5 to 3% spread. That's why all of these experts that study these data points, that's why they say, hey, rates need to come down to 5.5, because that's 2% above the 10-year treasury. And you got Dave Stevens kind of arguing that rates will come down to 5. Barry Habib his stance has really never changed in the last 6 months, that we're going to be somewhere in that 5.5% range. I think we'll all be happy with any number in between those two. So that's how the margins work between a 10-year treasury and 30-year mortgage bonds. So here's the inflation. This is the exact slide I had up last month, right? November came in at 0.2. We got rid of November of last year because it's always a 12-month rolling of 0.5. So although inflation was up 0.2, our inflation number year over year improved by 0.3, and it went down to 6%. And that's why you saw a nice improvement in interest rates. So what happened a week and a half ago when the new inflation number came out for December? It came in at 0.3. And if you guys subscribe to and get my videos, I do a market update video every Monday. I do a rate update video every Wednesday. I talked about this, right? That we had 0.6 falling off in December on the back end from the year prior, from 2021. And we're hoping that that number would come in at least 0.3. If it came in at 0.2, we'd probably see a nice improvement on interest rates. So 0.3%, we improved by another 0.3. Year over year inflation number went from 6 to 5.7. Look what we have coming up. And I'm going to show you this on the next graph, but we have another 0.6 coming off in January. We have another 0.5. Now, March, don't expect anything good to happen there. But then look at April, May, June. You want to know why experts are talking about how strong the market's going to be this summer and why rates are going to be better? Right here. We keep getting 0.2 and 0.3% readings, and we get rid of these. You're going to see inflation back down around 3%. Quick math on that. If we do a 2-month average right here, it's 2.5. If we take that, or I'm sorry, 0.25, if you take that times 12 months, you're literally at 3% inflation. The Feds want inflation down to 2. But inflation was all the way up over 7%. And now we're getting really close to having this number come all the way down to 3%. May 10th, mark this on your calendars. This is the moving day. You're going to see in a moment here why they don't, although we see some big numbers here, why Barry is very big on May 10th. Okay, so these are the next 4 inflation number release dates, May 10th being the key one. Here's why. So in February, we know we have a big number falling off from January of last year. The problem is this is shelter. Every inflation number that they send out, a portion of that number includes shelter cost, okay, housing cost. So what happens here is we have a dip in shelter costs from January of last year. That's going to negate the gain we have in the overall core inflation, okay? So don't expect, there's probably going to be a lot of volatility between now and Valentine's Day and probably the week or two after. But then we get into February numbers coming off in March, on March 14th, both of these are improving. Get to April, we had a low core inflation number reading. Shelter was good. They'll probably offset each other. Boom. April, both numbers are high. They're expecting them to be better. That's why May 10th is circled, because that's when April's numbers come out and April 2022 falls off. And then other than July, you can just see this continue through the summer. So when we talk about June falling off, that number is going to be released in July. You're going to see when it comes to interest rates, a really hot market this summer, starting around the mid-May timeframe. Now, as rates come down, buyers are going to be coming off the fence left and right. If it's a buyer who hasn't talked to me, and of course there's always that pocket of buyers who they have situations that are impending their decision to, or impacting their decision to buy now. Doesn't matter how much the data says you should buy now, they just can't. Might be a lease come and do it, might be a move to a different area with a different job. In that case, it is what it is. But the people who can buy now need to buy now. And I'll show you evidence of that in a moment. So let's just summarize supply and demand and everything we just went through there. As interest rates drop, demand increases. As demand increases, supply decreases. Right? Econ 101. Doesn't matter what the widget is we're selling. As supply decreases, guess what's going to happen? Prices increase. You're like, Jeff, yeah, we're getting properties for, $10,000, $20,000 less than list price. Remember, list price isn't the value of the home, right? We've seen plenty of sellers in the last 9 months trying to sell at 2021 prices. And they're finally listening to you as the agent to lower that list price to the true value, right? So that's one thing that we have to understand is the media is going to tell us all day long that prices are going down, but is it really prices and value, or is it list price is being adjusted to where the value was the day they listed, right? So markets are starting to slide into a balanced market with increased demand, lower rates. However, some markets could move quickly out of a balanced market and right back into a seller's market. Why? What do you think is going to happen at the very end of that pendulum I just spelled out there, and prices start going up because of demand? You guys are going to start getting phone calls saying, I think now's the time to sell. I missed the COVID boat, but I see prices going up. I've gained 20 or 30 grand in what was an overinflated value that came down. I don't want to miss the second boat. So let's get my house listed ASAP. Now, the thing is, we're going to need homeowners to make those decisions to bridge the gap between the high demand and the low inventory we have. However, I think just like during COVID, you're going to see those inventory numbers stay very flatline. Even though a ton of people are going to come on the market, you're going to see so much demand that it's going to make it look like inventory is not increasing. So you're going to see that inventory maybe stay flat, but what will change on that graphic that I showed you with the Phoenix numbers is the number of closings, right? We've been averaging just under, what was it, 9,000. Now we've gone down to as many as 5,000 closings. You're going to see the number of closings, the number of transactions go up, and the inventory number will probably stay flat. And that's not going to be true for every market, right? You guys might be looking at this going right now, Jeff, I'm not experiencing what you're experiencing in Phoenix. Okay, that's a true statement for you. It's coming, right? It's going to come at some point. Interest rates will always impact that market. So what am I seeing here? We received 6 contracts last week. It was the most contracts we've received in 1 week since the first week in November. For me and my team, our goal is to average 2.5 contracts a week. We got 6, double what our 2023 goal is, just to put that in perspective, right? There's other teams out there. There's other very successful loan officers that if they heard 6 contracts in a week, they'd be freaking out. They're used to getting 15 or 20. But me and my little team, 2.5 contracts a week is our goal. And we got 6. I'm sharing that with an agent last Friday, and he said, Jeff, we put a house in the market. Now, before I tell you this story, Jeff, we priced it right. They wanted to list a year ago. They kind of missed the boat. I told them what we needed to do. They listened to me. In the first day, we had 5 showings. 4 of the 5 people put offers in. 1 of them was a cash. We played the cash buyer against the finance buyers. Next thing we know, we had it sold for $15,000 over, and it wasn't to the cash buyer because a quick close wasn't important to my seller. But we leveraged the cash buyer with the finance, right? They had one of the finance offers was non-contingent, and they went 15 grand over. He goes, now, before you go out and tell everybody that we just sold a house in Phoenix for $15,000 over list price, understand we priced it competitively to get that result, right? However, I have agents every day saying, oh my gosh, I just put a listing on. I went from sitting for 30 days on another listing with no showings to this one being priced right, and my phone's blowing up. You know, I'm getting 2 or 3 offers. Is that a sign? We've only gone down a little bit in interest rates. Imagine when we come down another 1%, how many people are going to come off the fence? There's going to be a lot. So be ready, like position yourself. I'm going to talk about that. That was the main premise of our conversation last month, but I kept one slide on just to really remind you, if you haven't done some of those things or you're hearing it for the first time, what you need to go do to position yourself in 2023. Because it's one thing to say that second half of 2023 is going to be really good. It's another thing to put yourself in a position to get a piece of that really good pie.
Hey,
right?
Jeff, can I
Go ahead.
chime in just for a second here?
Yes.
Okay, so if I asked everybody, do me a favor, put it in the chat. What's today's date? What is today's date? Put it in the chat for me, everybody. Let's see what we come up with. See if you know today's date. See, if you coach with me, you know the real date. Trina nailed it there. Okay, so Linda's thinking it's today. It's today. It's today. Here's the thing. Trina's right. It is not January 1st or January 18th, 2023. It is April 18th, 2023. Why is that? Because every action you take today is going to show up in 3 months. Remember, it takes 7 to 12 weeks for someone at the point that they decide to list their home or to buy a home to actually close on that house. So if you take that into consideration with everything Jeff is telling you about the timing on things, everything is right now. You are absolutely wanting to take action on everything he's talking about right now. Okay, I'll step away, Jeff.
Cole, beautiful point, right? If I take an application today, is there scenarios where they go out and we pre-underwrite almost every file to help them get their offer accepted? But is it realistic they're going to find a house at the terms they want in the next 2-3 weeks? No. And then you got a 30-day close. And so if we're talking May 10th is going to be a pivotal moment in our industry. and we're 90 days out. We're always working 90 days ahead. You do the math, you got 3 weeks.
Right.
Got 3 weeks. Now be careful how you position that. You don't want to go out and say, hey, my coach Cole told me that it's really April 18th and Jeff is telling me things are going to change on May 10th. So we got to get this done tomorrow. You're going to stress people out and they're going to run the other direction. But in a very calm manner, sit down and explain to them the timing of a transaction and what's coming. That's the, you know, as a loan officer, a conversation about an application, especially when you're dealing with somebody at an 800 credit score, $500,000 in the bank, that's what we call a vanilla loan, right? A paper, any lender can do that. When I'm talking to that client, that's a 15-minute conversation. Here's your terms. Yes, we have you approved. We're going to send you a needs list. Let's go get you underwritten anyway. So it's just a cleaner, less stressful process. That conversation for me now is an hour and a half. And I'm going to tell you, and I say that in some way, I always find a way to bring this into the mix every class we do. Most loan officers out there are going to have the 15-minute conversation. And we're going to talk about that, because you have to think about that, how it's impacting me. And how I'm talking is I'm setting myself up as an advisor, not an order taker. And I tell you guys this as well. As a real estate agent, this market we're heading into, if you're not a trusted advisor, if you're just somebody that has a shingle held at a real estate office and you're flying by the seat of the pants, which, by the way, I know everybody on this call, you don't fit that demographic or you wouldn't be here. Okay. So I'm not actually talking to you on that, but your colleagues, the people that you interact with, this is like, share this with them, help them. It might be a pivotal moment in their career, right? If you have to show up in this market that we're heading into, when we go through shifts, and we might go through 2 shifts this year, we might go through 3, you have to be the trusted advisor. Hands down, there's no way you can dispute, no, Jeff, I'm just going to keep going by the seat of my pants. I don't have any goals written down. I have no action steps. I'm just going to show up and talk to people. If you're not talking to them with facts, you're not going to get them as clients. They will find somebody who can give them that knowledge. And I'll get off my soapbox there. So with all of that, how do we prepare for this shift, right? That's why you guys showed up. Education and training, exactly what we're doing here today. Guys, I am watching videos, digging into loan programs. I'm digging into the Barry Habib and the Dave Stevens of the world, the guys who have time to do, 12 hours a day analyzing the markets. I don't. I'm working with clients. So I take their sound bites, right? And then make sure, keep in mind this too. I would never ask any one of you on this call to leave here. What I'm telling you is not gospel. I have it backed up with facts, but I'm never going to leave here and say, hey, Barry said this yesterday in a 7-second soundbite. He's God. No, I'm looking at the data they're presenting, and then does it make sense, right? When you look at a 35-year history of the 10-year treasury and interest rates, and it's always been 2%, conventional wisdom tells you that COVID created an anomaly that's going to change. I can get behind that message, right? If I didn't have that, then I'd be like, oh, well, we're moving to a 3% margin. That's normal. It's just going to be the new norm. But we have data to support that that's not going to withstand long term. Coaching, we can talk about this at the end, right? Most of you are here because you know Cole and her team, and they're coaching. I have 2 coaches. I say this all the time. And Cole, if you guys saw the picture of me being goofy at the beginning, that was a coaching moment. It's like, Jeff, I need you to take a selfie. We're going to use this and we're going to have some fun. That was out of my comfort zone, right? I'm not going to put a goofy picture of me everywhere, but it was fun. And we opened up today and I laugh, right? So I'm a big proponent of coaching. If you don't have a coach, get one, right? Some of the most successful people in the world making billions of dollars have coaches, right? So the question becomes, if you don't have one, why? What's the reason, right? You always need the outside influence that can't see or can see what you can't see to give you some direction, right? That's the main benefit there, is to keep you on course and to see the hurdles before you see them. Be open-minded. This seems so, I put this in the middle. These are in no particular order. I think I kind of did rank them, but what do I mean by that? I'm going to share with you. Guys, in our market right now, we've received 2 contracts since June that didn't have some form of seller concessions. 2, okay? And it was because they wanted the price reduction, and they got good deals. It wasn't a bad deal. Concessions would have been a better deal in my opinion. But 2 out of every contract we received since June. Had an agent tell me last night, and yes, the market's shifting, but the background is their client's looking at a house that's been on the market for 3 months, just finally connected with me, took a little while to get his income verification, and pretty much said, well, hold on, I think this client has the money for his down payment and his closing costs. And I won't give the numbers or anything like that, but I said, yeah, he does. If we don't get concessions, he'll be completely wiped out. Young kid, first ever home purchase with no money left in the bank the day he closes. Why wouldn't we get the concessions if we're in a market where the seller's willing to provide it? I think the house had been on the market for 60 plus days. Okay, that screams that they're motivated and want to get rid of that property. Let's get the concessions. Let's leave this new homeowner who's in his 20s with $6,000 or $7,000 in the bank for any unforeseen expenses. Are we being the trusted advisor, right? And by this agent I do a lot of business with, it wasn't facetious. He was just in his mind thinking, well, he doesn't need it. Why would we ask for it? It reminds me of my fiery Latina wife, who has said her entire life that we've been married 16 years, Jeff, just go ask. We don't need a discount. We have the money. We can pay full price. I see the value in it. And she said, just ask. The worst they're going to say is no. Right? Submit the offer with concessions. Worst they'll say is no. The market's going to shift where you're not going to have that ability, right? Have a business plan. I put action in red because, right, a lot of people have ideas, but they don't put a plan behind it. That's step one. Got to have a plan. Well, if you have a plan with no action, it doesn't matter. In fact, all you did was waste time putting the plan together because you didn't take action towards the plan to see the intended results, right? So get a business plan with action behind it. Have an agent for the last 2 or 3 months. He'll know who he is if he's on the call. And I kind of hope he's not. It's not a bad thing. He sat down with me and said, Jeff, would you be willing to put money into this idea? And, you know, we get asked, you know, approached with hands out a lot. And I'm very selective where my hard-earned money goes. I heard the idea and I said, genius, let's do it. What do you need from me? I'll give you the date, you show up, shake hands, kiss babies, we're good. Walk in a week later, are we going to do this? He said that to me. I said, yeah, I'm waiting, right? There's no action, a lot of talking, which goes to my favorite saying, I see better than I hear. I can see your actions better than I hear you talking about what you might do. So this went on for like 3 or 4 weeks. That was 6 months ago. That never happened. No action was taken, right? So, and then what are your non-negotiables? I'm big on this. What are they? What in your business are you going to hold to that no matter what you do? My loan status updates for people outside of Arizona, we have to send out a real estate form as a lender every Tuesday or every week. I do them on Tuesdays. I got off those calls at 8 o'clock last night. It had been a long day. And I sat here until all of those loan status updates got emailed out. Because non-negotiable, when we enter into a contract, is you will have an LSU on a Tuesday. Now, it might be 11:59 p.m. sometimes, but you're going to get it on a Tuesday. And if we do all of these things, right, number 4 and 5 roll up into coaching. That's what a coach can help with. If we do all of these things, that's how we land as a trusted advisor that clients are going to work with us and help them navigate through these uncharted waters and the shifting market. Right? How many people had a seller in the last 9 months who wanted to sell their $600,000 house for $650 and hope they got $680 with an appraisal waiver? I know it's happened, right? I hear the stories every day. And what do we do as a trusted advisor on the real estate side? We show data to bring them back down to reality, that it's not 2021 anymore. You're not going to list at 650 and get 680. Your house is worth 600. If you want to list at 650, the greatest phrase I've heard in the last year is, if you want to list at 650, watch yourself chase the market down and sell for 550, right? My job is to make you the most money, and we're not chasing a market down. We're going to list it appropriately and get you under contract and accomplish your goal. So my education training, I talked about this a little bit at the beginning. I was contemplating putting it there. And of course, Stell talked about it at the beginning. On April, I went back and looked at this morning because it was driving me nuts when I did this. I talked to my team, Randy and Cece, at the end of March, and I said, guys, my wife's been in the business for 30 some years. I'm entering year 20. My partner's been in for 18. Say, guys, we haven't sold 2-1 buy downs. We haven't had the market for that in over 15 years. They're coming. That was at the end of March. April, I set up a non-negotiable in my business that I would send out to only the agents I work with. Okay. Now, if you want to be added to this, shoot me an email and I'll have my contact information at the end. Shoot me an email. I send a video out every Monday, market update. For 2023, I'm doing non-traditional mortgage products, because as we navigate into this industry or this new market, we're gonna have to be thinking outside the box on some of this stuff. On Wednesdays, I send out a rate update. Talk a lot about what's happening in the bond market, upcoming things. For example, Friday, the new home start number comes out, right? If it's bad, you'll see rates improve. If it's good, if it's better than expected, you'll see rates get worse, right? We talked about that 20 minutes ago. New home starts is a big thing that impacts our industry. So I send those out Monday and Wednesday. So I went back into BombBomb and said, when was my first video? April 18th was the first Monday update I did. And I predicted, hey, interest rates are on the rise. Inventory is increasing in most markets, definitely mine. 2-1 buy downs that you haven't heard about for 15, 20 years are going to become a thing. And it's going to be very valuable to buyers to offset these high interest rates. And it will be by July. We got our first contract with seller funded 2-1 buy down at the end of June. It was a July closing. And almost every deal since then has been a 2-1 buy down. What's my prediction today, based on the data I just shared with you, is that you're going to see rate improvement between now and May, the biggest and probably the resting spot, May 10th, probably May 11th. There'll be a little shake up the next day. You'll see inventory declining because as more people enter the market, talked about, it might stay flat, but more likely it'll come down a little bit. You're going to see concessions go away. How many of us have gotten used to, we all have very, very good short-term memory, horrible long-term memory. This is what we do in our industry, right? First 2 months of rates going up, we wanted to talk about what happened during COVID. Within 2 months of this market shift, we're going to forget that we got concessions, right? But concessions are going to trend downwards. You might get some, right? Home prices will start slowly increasing. What happens when there's no offers on a house? The buyer gets conceded a lot of stuff, prices, concessions towards closing costs, right? Rate buy downs. What happens when you have 5 people bidding on the house? It gets bid up, right? Phoenix is still averaging in most zip codes 3% appreciation. I'm not saying we're going to go to 20 or 30%, but I think it's reasonable that we could see 5 to 10% depending on areas of Phoenix, pockets of Phoenix. Right? A little bit better than what we're seeing right now because you're going to have people bidding. And by May, I think I put less concessions. I think by May, good luck. Good luck. If you're bidding against 5 people, there's going to be one of those 5 that does not need concessions, right? They're selling a house. They got a couple $100,000 coming in. They don't need to ask for that to win the bid. So that's going to come. So what do we do to get in front of that? So navigating buyers right now, the 3 conversations I had last night, each one took over an hour. Okay. They're buying a $400,000 house with 20% down. They're loaning $320,000. And guys, I do this all day, so I'm going to run through this real quick. They're loaning $320,000. We're going to go ask on average for 3% concessions. That's what I'm seeing us get, $12,000. And I threw in 6.5. Everybody's rate is different. We have some people that have been locked at 5.99 just this week and end of last week. I just threw 6.5. I always like to give numbers when it's not a set deal, very conservatively. In parentheses, I have 4.5 and 5.5 because we're going to do a 2-1 buy down. Cash to close on that, $80,000, their down payment. The $12,000 concessions is going to pay for their closing costs and their 2-1 buy down. Principal and interest payment the first year is going to be $1,621. Year 2 at 5.5% is going to go to $1,816. And for the remainder of the term, if they stay in the loan, it's going to go back to what they would have been at 2022. Now, we just talked about refis dropping. We're going to assume, again, conservative, they only go to 5.5. We're going to use Barry's number, not Dave Stevens. So now they have a loan amount of $320 on the refi. Well, Jeff, hold on. This is what I tell every client. Downside of a refi that no loan officer will ever tell you. A, you want to refinance as close to the origination date of the first loan. Gives you the best benefit. Okay. But when you do that, You haven't paid down any principal. So you roll in the closing costs because that makes the most financial sense. Now on the refi, you owe more than when you bought the house. No loan officer will tell you that because that's a bad thing. Okay, here's the beauty of the 2-1 buy down. We're going to keep the loan amount at 320 because the unused funds from the seller's proceeds for the 2-1 buy down is going to pay the closing costs. Market rate at this time is at 5.5. They get the same 18-16 payment that they would have had in year 2. And most likely where we're at right now, they're going to get this payment before this payment over here even kicks in. I'm going to bet, as a betting man, I'm going to say that they're absolutely going to be able to refinance within 10 months. So let's use that 10-month number. Here's a spreadsheet I created for 2-1 buy downs. Buy down on this scenario, 400,000, 20% down, 6.5 rate. We got to go ask for concessions of almost 7,300. They're going to save $401 in the first year per month. If at the 10-month, they make the 10th payment, they have used $4,000, right? 401 times 10 of the 7,300. You're going to have about 3,300 left in there. Not every lender can do a 2-1 buy down. And every lender who does a 2-1 buy down doesn't handle this money the same way. Some say the money's gone the second you refi or sell if there's anything in there. We don't. That 3,300 that's still in there is yours. So if we get back to my presentation here, if we go into the next slide, I bumped the price up by 5%. Because this person doesn't buy right now. Is there a good chance that by this summer when things heat up that there's a 5% appreciation on that same house? Yeah. I mean, you could argue in some markets it might be 10%. I cut it in half, 5%. So it goes up 20% or 20,000, same 20% down. Now the client starts with $336 loan amount. Market's competitive, so they get no concessions. So they're paying their own closing costs. The increased down payment and having to pay their own closing costs, that same buyer for the same house is now coming out of pocket $91,000 instead of $80,000. That decision cost them $11,000 out of their bank account. Principal and interest payment, they waited for that 5.5% rate, is $1,907. Now imagine this, the buyer already bought the house, they gained $20,000 in equity. They're sitting there, I say the same thing to every client, you're on the couch sipping your glass of wine, knowing that Jeff Quincy is doing your refinance down to the same rate you were going to get if you bought a house. You're not part of the frenzy of everybody fighting over the houses that are available. You're relaxing while your refi is getting done to get the same rate. And oh, by the way, all of them fighting over those houses just made your value go up $20,000. You gained equity. Yeah, it's paper money. But who doesn't like that idea? So now we refinance them. I just stole this from the last slide, and they get this payment versus buying a house, $100, $90. And you say, Jeff, who cares about $90? Guess who cares? The client. Do you know how many clients, when you try to minimize the amount, oh, it's only costing this much. When it's only saving 90, it seems minimal. When it's, hey, it's only costing you 90, though I've never seen clients grab a calculator so fast and take $90 times 360. And say, Jeff, not only did I lose $20,000 in equity, I just lost $90 over the next 30 years. And it's a little bit facetious because we know they're not going to stay in the house for 30 years, but that's what they do. So this is what we need to explain to clients. What happens when we get into that market and there's nothing we can do, right? We can't look back. We can't say, you should have bought 5 months ago. We could have negotiated a 2-1 buy down, then use the unused seller concessions in that escrow account to pay for your refi. That's done. That's not an option, right? We got to start getting prepared for that. Be prepared for price increases with concessions. What do I mean by that? We just did this with a client that really wanted this house and they would not budge off their list price, and she wanted $7,500 in concessions. They raised the price $7,500. And I showed her, right? She wanted $7,500 for a rate buy down that was going to save her $224. The extra $7,500 finance only cost her an extra $50 a month. The net difference was $174. Okay, this is because I took the time ahead to show her that benefit and concessions outweighs the benefit of a lower price, right? You do a $20,000 price drop. Let's look at that 2-1 buy down. You do a $20,000 price drop, you're going to save $101. Do a 2-1 buy down, you're going to save $401. Which option are you picking? Right? We've just been conditioned that price is the deal. So that's what I'm talking about. You might have to go in and say, hey, you know, between a conversation with you and your lender, hey, we need 5,000 in concessions. It's worth it to bump that price up 5,000, right? That goes into number 2. We got to provide precise CMAs for buyers. Jeff, what are you talking about? We do that for listing presentations. You need it for your buyer. You need to justify that the price that we're recommending they offer and bump it up to is going to be supported by an appraisal, especially if they don't have the room to cover that. Now, in a balanced market, I won't say always, because every deal is different. You have a 50-50 chance that you're going to be able to negotiate with the seller to bring that price down to the appraised value, right? Can't do that in a seller's market, but you can get away with it sometimes in a balanced market. You're going to see multiple offers. The cool thing is if you've been licensed for 2 years or longer, you know what those creative ideas are that you need to do when you're up against multiple offers. What are you going to offer to pay? You're going to offer them a year's worth of tacos? I mean, we've seen some crazy stuff. What are you going to do to put yourself above that other offer? Number 4 and 5 probably should have been number 1 and 2. I'm going to ask you guys as a real estate community, as a lender, who my value proposition is to help clients create generational wealth through real estate. Okay. If that is my mission, that's my value statement, and I'm going to live and breathe that. Sometimes we shouldn't be rushing buyers to buy. Even with everything I just said about let's get them in right now before things go crazy. It's going to be a benefit, right? There's some clients we have to stop, take a breath. We need to do some planning so that we're not writing 200 offers. And you know what? I know as agents, you guys hate to hear this, but sometimes what we need to do is put them on a budget, spend a year helping them save money, increase scores, get some debt paid off. Do you know the absolute that you guys don't see this, but we do on the lending side? They're paying $1,500 a month rent. They're qualified for a $2,500 mortgage payment. When I ask them what they're comfortable with, they say $2,000. But they want to take the $2,500 because it gives them the purchase price. And if I'm coming across a little angry, it's because I get frustrated that we don't understand the basic mathematical principles of this. If that borrower needs down payment assistance, they've been on their job and living at the same place for 5 years, and their savings account has $2,000, I'm going to assume it took them 5 years to save $2,000. Can I ask you where the extra $500 in their budget? Like, I'm a lender that doesn't care that they qualify for that. A very real question is, where are you getting the $500? And in some cases, there's a viable answer. But you'd be surprised how many people go silent and say, Jeff, I never thought of that. I'm going to have to change some spending habits. Maybe we should practice that first, right? Well, your job is to do the mortgage and make a commission, so then we can sell the house and make a commission. You're right. But does it do us any good with referrals if that person's foreclosing in 6 months? No. So I'll get off my soapbox on that, but sometimes we're gonna have to stop and take just a little extra time. Guys, this is my last slide. This is the one I was telling you I brought in from last month. Ask yourself what your value proposition is. I just told you mine. I know it like the back of my hand. I tell every client it. If I don't live up to that on that first phone call that goes an hour, hour and a half, do you think when they've talked to another lender and it was 15 minutes and they talked to me for an hour and a half, do you think we hang up that call and they go, holy cow, Jeff knows what the hell he's talking about? He's living up to what he just told me is his mission to help me and my family create generational wealth. And guys, this isn't just the 25-year-old first-time home buyer, right? I'm dealing with a client right now that's got $250,000 in the bank, and in their mind, they need to put as much down as possible to save on their payment. But their income isn't an issue. They can afford it. It's a mental thing, right? They're nearing, one of them's at retirement, one's nearing retirement. They have $250 liquid, nothing in savings. Is it going to matter that their payment's $200 cheaper? No, they need some money in the savings account. They probably need to get some investment. Yeah, they're way behind, but they need something investment. Is that my job? No. You go to real estate school, you go to loan officer school and get licensed. They don't tell you to worry about any of that. That's a financial planner's problem, and that's a client's problem, not with me. I want you to call me 30 years from now, if I'm still alive, and thank me for the financial position that I put you in. That line I just said, almost every client hears out of my mouth. Do you think that gains me some trust and some loyalty with that client? They know my mission. I'm not going to put them in a bad loan. So what are your goals for 2023? Hopefully by now we're almost, less than 2 weeks away from the end of the year. Hopefully you have goals written down, share it with everybody, have people that are going to hold you accountable. Hopefully you have a coach you're sharing that with and helping navigate those goals. And what are your non-negotiables? I know I say this in every class, I find a way to wiggle it in. Guys, I'm big on it, right? The one thing as a society that we struggle with is we don't keep our word. In fact, I'll test you in the next 24 hours. Take notice of how many people that tell you they'll try to make it to something. They'll try to come to your class. They'll try to call you on that day. They've already made up in their mind they're not going to do it. Where are we doing that in our business and with our clients? Because we're all doing it to some degree, myself included. That's why you want to start with some small non-negotiables and then build out from there. Big part for me. Part of that, here's my contact information. Robin, if you wouldn't mind putting my email address in the chat, if you guys want to be added to my emails, like I said, I don't spam, right? Our branch has access to every licensed real estate agent in the entire country. My emails go out to about 103 agents that I personally work with. I don't want to spam. I'm not your guy if I'm spamming, right? I want to deliver value. But with that, good transition into the non-negotiables and who can help with that, right? The reason why you guys are here is because Cole gives me a stage to share the knowledge and what I'm passionate about. Her and her team run an amazing coaching program, right? The biggest one that they do is the 12 weeks to breakthrough. And guys, Cole doesn't pay me for this. It's because I believe it. I've seen behind the scenes of it. I've seen, and I know agents that have been in it, and they always ask me, Jeff, what is this? Right? So I can tell you, if you haven't gone through it, maybe that's the one non-negotiable you need to create for 2023. So Cole, I'm going to let you, as the designer of the 12 weeks of breakthrough, give that answer that everybody always asks me about the breakthrough program.
Okay. So let me pull it up. So we basically every week we talk about it. By the way, isn't Jeff amazing? Say Jeff rocks in the chat. Would you like? Jeff was so good. That was great.
I do pay for that. I do pay for that.
That's good stuff right there. I mean, that's amazing. Jeff rocks. Yes, he does. Jeff is amazing. Thank you for that. Here's the thing, guys. If you can tell by Jeff, I know, hopefully you can tell by me, we are really passionate about training and coaching people. It's every single day. My team's motto is we change lives every day. And what Jeff was just telling about is called our 12 Weeks to Breakthrough program. You guys have heard me mention it, but I don't know if Jeff, I don't think I've ever gone through it on the class. Can you let me share, Jeff? There we go. Okay. I'm going to share it with you guys so you kind of know what the program is about. So first of all, the biggest thing to understand about 12 Weeks to Breakthrough, it is a coaching and training program together. You're doing self-guided training with videos, and then you have your individual coaching. That doesn't really exist in our industry right now. So that's why we've put that together. Really powerful program. Our coaches are extraordinary. So cool. So I'll walk you guys through it really quickly here. So this is 12 Weeks of Breakthrough. So let me take you kind of through how it works. So like I said, it's 12 weeks. So the first week is all about orientation. And you've got 4 lessons going through that. And by the way, every week, it's about a total of an hour worth of video watching and then coaching with your coach. Second week is all about mindset, man. Getting it right beforehand is so important, and having your mind in a great place for learning. Then we start getting into the really good stuff, knowing your numbers. I'll bet you on average, 90% of the agents that I talk to, they've heard the term know your numbers, but then they have no idea what that means. So that's what we really get down to the nitty gritty, not only what your numbers should be to produce what you need to produce, but what does your database need to look like? What do your lead generation numbers need to look like? Then we go into client acquisition. little bit different name than lead generation. This is a little bit more robust than that. So we go into that pretty detailed, about 50 different ways in there we talk about for lead generation and client acquisition. We go into the client experience. How do you create such an experience for your clients that they never, ever, ever would go to anybody else and all they do is want to refer you? Next is value. Do you know how to articulate your value so you can compete with any agent, anytime, any day in a listing or a buyer scenario? It's all about that. There's a big negotiation component in that particular module as well. Next one's time. This is the quintessential module inside of all of 12 weeks to breakthrough. This is about creating a strategic plan, an action plan, tying it to your time block calendar so you know what to do every day and you stop the squirrels running around in your business. You stop the whirlwind. It's running your business as a business. That takes us right into operations. Operations really is all about how do you run the business as a business, from your P&L to all of the checklists, who are your partners, what's transaction supposed to look like. All of those pieces are in operations. All right, now we get into our gaps. So you've gone through knowing your numbers and client acquisition and client experience and value and time and operations. Now, well, after you've gone through that, where are the gaps? Where do you still need to go back, maybe watch some more lessons, maybe do some more coaching on that? What books do you need to read? What kind of people that you need to meet, you need to add into your world? That's all about your gaps. And then that helps us create your growth plan. And that's all about module 10, is creating that growth plan moving forward. The next one is so much fun. It's called the Path of Money. This is all about passive income. A lot of the things that Jeff was talking about, specifically about wealth building and having people have sound financial positioning. That's really what we're talking about, especially in passive income. Then, of course, we talk about next steps. It's all about what are the next steps to keeping your business going. You take 12 weeks to break through. From the moment, here's what we know. Here's the numbers. From the time people start 12 weeks to break through, it takes them 6 months from that time to either double or triple their business from the time they started the program. So you got 3 months in the program, 3 more months of implementation, you're doubling or tripling your business. I cannot be more proud of the clients that we've had go through our program. They are really extraordinary. I'm so proud of our coaches. Most of our coaches have come through the program, so that's exciting. If you want to know more about the program, here's all you have to do. If you will go into program-overview.breakthroughre.net, you can see everything about the program. You can see our testimonials. You can learn about our coaches. You can learn about our team. Everything is there. All right, that's a lot about that. By the way, Jeff, I've been touting this. I'm so excited because coming next month, Jumpstart, we have a brand new program starting. This is for new agents. So if you are a new agent, we have a brand new program, Jumpstart. It's for you guys. That's going to be coming out. It will be another 12-week program. Very, very exciting. And it is a doozy. We have a lot of really great information in that. Now, for any of you guys who you're really looking to up your game this year in your 2023, I strongly encourage you, sit down with me. Let's do a business consultation. Let's see what you might need to really have a breakthrough this year. I do this every single day. I sit down with agents every single day. We talk about your business. We talk about your goals, and we see what's it going to take for you to create your best year ever. Go ahead and scan this QR code, or if you don't have your scanner, you can go to breakthroughre.typeform.com/strategy session. That's a mouthful. But you can go there and you can schedule that with us. By the way, if you're on the call today and you haven't been, you're not a member of our Facebook group, here's how you get there. It's facebook.com/groups/breakthroughre. We'd love to have you be a member of our group. Jeff.
Cole, I just want to add, after you've gone through all that and the value, you know, I talk about helping people create generational wealth. The shift didn't happen. I mentioned in the presentation, I've been doing this for 20 years. The shift for me didn't happen until about 10 years ago, 10 years into my career. And it was after my wife and I lost everything. And the major change I made was how I handled and worked with clients and educating them. But it was the addition of a coach.
Mhm.
right? So you can go through this industry like I did the first 10 years and you can make income, you can maybe make some good income, but you're probably not going to create generational wealth for you, your family, your kids, your grandkids, right? Get a coach, go to the next level. I mean, I'm telling you guys, there's levels in this. And when you're leveling up, like what you're doing for your family and for yourself, you can't describe it. Nobody, people can try to put it in words, it'll never make sense. So invest in yourself, right? If you don't have a coach,
There it is.
Cole and her company, invest in yourself. Your business will appreciate it.
It's creating your life worth living, right? We're not just selling houses, guys. You're creating a life for you and your family and creating a legacy. That's what we all want to do. Jeff, I know that's what you do every day. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for being with us again on an amazing Jeff Day. I always love our third week of the month. By the way, next week, we're going to talk about social media game plan. We're talking social media. You want to be here. It's actually one of the modules that we just wrote for our Jumpstart program. So I'm going to just take it out for you guys and take it for a spin. So I think that'll be fun. All right, guys, hope you have an amazing rest of your day. See y'all later.
Thanks, everyone.